There comes a moment, subtle yet merciless, when love demands of us something greater than affection. It asks for the truth of our own soul. Most people think love begins when two hearts meet, but in truth, it begins when we finally meet ourselves. For before love can unite two beings, it will first separate each from their illusions. It will strip away the masks, expose the shadows, and whisper in the darkness, "Are you ready to be seen?" Many flee from this question, for it is not gentle. It does not come wrapped in tenderness or romance. It comes as a storm that tests the strength of what we call love, the final test before the real thing. And only those who endure this storm, who dare to look into the mirror love holds before them, discover that the one they longed for was never merely another person, but the unclaimed part of their own being. Love begins not with another, but with the courage to face oneself. We often believe love is born in the presence of another, in the eyes that meet ours across a crowded room, in the warmth of shared laughter, in the tremor of being understood. Yet this is only where love appears to begin. In truth, the journey starts in a far lonelier place, within the dim corridors of our own heart. There, behind the noise of longing and the glitter of desire, lives a self we have never dared to meet. And it is this meeting, not the meeting of two bodies or two minds, that marks the true beginning of love. Most people seek another person as an escape from themselves. They fall in love not to find connection, but to forget their solitude. They look for someone who can silence the ache within, someone to confirm that they are worthy, beautiful, enough. Yet this kind of love, however passionate, trembles at the first hint of truth. For no one can complete what we ourselves have abandoned. Until we face the emptiness within, every love will remain half-built, fragile, dependent on the comfort of illusion. To love is to see. But how can we truly see another when our own reflection terrifies us? We spend years constructing masks, the strong one, the kind one, the charming one, the untouchable one. Each role protects us from the fear of rejection, from the truth that we are, at times, broken, needy, afraid. But the irony is cruel. The very masks that protect us also keep love away. For love cannot touch what is not real. It reaches only for the soul that stands uncovered. When you finally dare to look inward, when you turn toward the silence you've always avoided, you begin to see the parts of yourself you've denied, the jealousy, the weakness, the longing to be held, the rage at having been unseen. This confrontation is not beautiful. It feels like death, yet it is precisely here, in this raw encounter with your own shadow, that the roots of love are planted. Because once you have seen your darkness and not turned away, you will never again fear it in another. You will recognize their flaws as mirrors of your own. You will forgive more easily. You will love more honestly. To face oneself is to tear away every pretense and meet the trembling child behind the armor. It is to stand before your own reflection and whisper, "I see you, and I will not run." From that moment on, every gesture of love you offer another will carry a different quality, not hunger, not need, but wholeness. It is the love of someone who has walked through the desert of their own soul and found water there. The paradox is simple. The more you belong to yourself, the freer you are to love another. Only when you are no longer seeking salvation from someone else's arms can you truly embrace them. Only when you have made peace with your solitude can intimacy become a gift rather than a refuge. So love does not begin with the arrival of another. It begins with the quiet revolution of self-recognition. The moment you stop searching for mirrors in other people and dare to see the truth within your own eyes. And when that moment comes, every connection becomes sacred, because you no longer seek to be completed. You are already whole, and from that wholeness, love at last becomes real. The final test of love is not passion, but truth.passion burns bright, dazzling, and irresistible. It makes the heart race, the world blur, and every breath feel alive. Yet passion, no matter how consuming, is only the beginning. It is the spark that ignites the journey, not the fire that sustains it. For when the fever of desire fades, when time reveals the ordinary moments and the shadows we try to hide, love faces its true trial. Can it survive? The true truth is the silent judge of all that pretends to be love. It strips away the illusions that passion so easily builds. In the beginning, we see only beauty, the perfection we longed for reflected in another's eyes. We see what we want to believe, that this person will save us from loneliness, will quiet the inner chaos, will make us whole. But truth waits patiently beneath the surface, and sooner or later, it emerges. It arrives in misunderstandings, in disappointments, in the moments when we are seen not as who we wish to be, but as who we are. That is the moment most love stories begin to crumble. Because truth is not soft. It does not flatter, it does not decorate, it reveals. And what it reveals first is the self, the insecurities, the hidden motives, the wounds we hoped to conceal. When the truth arrives, love must choose to resist and retreat back into illusion, or to stay, to face what is real. True love is born in that staying. It is not built on perfect harmony, but on the willingness to stand in the fire of honesty and still say, I choose you. Not because you are flawless, not because you fulfill my fantasy, but because I see you, and I am no longer afraid to be seen myself. That is the sacred exchange where love transforms from desire into devotion, from illusion into reality. We often imagine that truth will destroy love, that revealing our rawness will make us unlovable. But the opposite is true. Only truth gives love its strength. Only truth roots it deep enough to endure. For every lie, every mask, every small hiding weakens the bridge between souls. Love cannot live in pretense, it suffocates there. It breathes only in the open air of honesty, where both hearts are bare, trembling, and real. There is a quiet beauty in that kind of love, a beauty not of perfection, but of courage. It is the love of two beings who have stopped performing and started living. It is the moment when I love you no longer means I need you to make me feel safe, but I am willing to walk beside you in truth, even when it is uncomfortable. Such love is not fragile. It does not fear time or change. It grows stronger with each confrontation, each confession, each moment of shared vulnerability. So the final test of love is not how fiercely we desire, but how deeply we can be honest. It asks us, can we love when the illusions fall away? Can we stay when truth exposes both beauty and imperfection? For in that exposure, love finds its real shape, unpolished, human, yet enduring. The flame of passion may draw two people together, but only truth allows them to remain. And when two souls have faced truth and still choose to stay, their love becomes something far greater than feeling. It becomes freedom. What we reject within ourselves, we will always chase in another. Every longing, every fascination, every spark of attraction hides a quiet truth about what is missing in us. We imagine we fall in love with another person, but in truth, we fall in love with the reflection of our own unlived potential. The one who captivates us so deeply often carries the very qualities we have buried, the light we denied, or the darkness we feared to face. Love, then, is not merely a union of two hearts, but the mirror in which we confront everything we have not yet accepted about ourselves. We are drawn to others with uncanny precision. It is as if some unseen magnet pulls us toward the people who awaken what we've forgotten. The confident are drawn to the gentle, the dreamers to the grounded, the reserved to the wild. Each sees in the other what they have lost or suppressed. This attraction is not random. It is the psyche's way of restoring balance. The heart knows what the conscious mind refuses to admit, that we are incomplete. And love is the instrument through which we remember our wholeness. But the same mirror that enchants us will eventually confront us. What begins as admiration soon reveals irritation, conflict, misunderstanding. The very traits that once drew us close start to provoke us, because they reflect parts of ourselves we have not made peace with. The one who was spontaneous now seems reckless. The one who was calm now feels distant. What has changed is not them, but our willingness to see our own reflection. Love, in its deeper stages, forces us to meet what we have rejected within. This is why relationships become the most powerful teachers. No book, no philosophy, no solitary meditation reveals us as clearly as intimacy does. The closer we come to another soul, the less we can hide. Our defenses crumble, our hidden wounds rise to the surface. The anger, the jealousy, the fear of abandonment, these are not born from the other person, they are summoned from within us. Love merely lights the torch that exposes them. To reject another for awakening these feelings is to miss the entire lesson. The very discomfort we blame them for is the invitation to heal. They did not create our pain, they revealed it. And so, the work of love is not to mold the other into our ideal, but to reclaim what we projected onto them, to see in ourselves the qualities we adored or despised in them. Only then can love mature from dependency into true connection. When we embrace this truth, love becomes less about possession and more about revelation. Each encounter, joyful or painful, becomes a mirror guiding us back to ourselves. We begin to see that what we admired in another, their courage, their passion, their tenderness, was never foreign. It was always sleeping within us, waiting to be awakened. And what we condemned in them, their flaws, their impatience, their fear, also lives in us, longing to be understood and integrated. The paradox is that every relationship, no matter how fleeting or lasting, is a form of self-discovery. We think we are searching for someone to love us, but in truth, we are searching for the forgotten parts of our own soul. Love's purpose is not to complete us through another, but to reflect us back to ourselves so vividly that we can no longer deny who we truly are. When we finally recognize this, love becomes something extraordinary, not an escape from ourselves, but a return home. Real love demands the death of illusion before the birth of union. We enter love dreaming. We see the other not as they are, but as the story we've longed to believe. We imagine a perfect savior, a gentle mirror for our beauty, a companion who will never wound us. We mistake the glow of projection for the light of truth, and in that dream, everything feels divine. But the deeper love goes, the more fiercely it demands awakening. For love does not thrive in fantasy, it thrives only in what is real. And to reach what is real, the illusions we hold must die. This death is not sudden, it comes in quiet disillusionment. The moments when we see the flaws we once denied, when expectations crumble, when the person before us no longer fits the dream we built around them. It feels like betrayal, but it is not. It is the moment when love begins to shift from enchantment to truth. Illusion must fall away so that the real relationship can emerge. What dies is not love itself, but the story we use to protect ourselves from the vulnerability of true intimacy. We are not destroyed by this loss, we are refined by it. For illusion is comforting, but fragile. It feeds the ego's desire to possess and control, but it starves the soul. When the illusion dies, something greater can finally breathe acceptance. Acceptance of the other not as a fantasy, but as a living, changing, imperfect being just like ourselves. That is the moment love begins to resemble truth rather than wishful dreaming. Yet this transition feels like fire. The ego mourns the death of the ideal. It clings to the version of love that was easy, predictable, and flattering. It resists the deeper connection that demands humility and surrender. But real love requires precisely that, the surrender of illusion, the release of control, the willingness to see too clearly, even when it shatters our comfort. Only when we let go of who we wanted the other to be, can we finally love who they truly are. This death of illusion is, in fact, a sacred initiation. It burns away not only our false image of the other, but also our false image of ourselves. We begin to see how our expectations were shaped by fear, fear of being alone, fear of rejection, fear of unworthiness. We see how we sought in another what we could not give ourselves. And as we grieve these illusions, we uncover a love that is quieter, steadier, and infinitely more real. To love without illusion is to see with both eyes open, one eye on the beauty, the other on the imperfection, and to love still. It is to no longer seek perfection, but presence. It is to understand that union is not the merging of two flawless beings, but the meeting of two souls who have faced their own truth and choose to walk forward together, eyes clear, hearts honest. Such love is not fragile. It no longer fears disillusionment because it has already walked through it. It no longer depends on fantasy because it has tasted the strength of truth. And in that strength, a new kind of union is born, one not bound by idealization, but by understanding. So love demands that illusion must die, not as punishment, but as purification. Only when we let go of the dream do we awaken to the miracle standing before us, real and imperfect, yet more beautiful than any illusion we could ever imagine. To be loved deeply, one must first be known completely, even by their own shadow. We all long to be loved, yet we fear the very thing that makes love real to be seen. We crave closeness, but tremble before exposure. We polish our words, hide our fears, conceal our wounds, hoping love will find us through the mask. But no mask ever receives love, only the person behind it can. And to stand unmasked before another, we must first have the courage to stand unmasked before ourselves. There are parts of us we do not want to meet. The jealousy we pretend we don't feel, the anger we repress, the shame we bury, the desires we label forbidden. We push them into the dark corners of the psyche and call them gone. Yet they are not gone, they wait. They whisper through our insecurities, they shape our choices, they surface in the conflicts we cannot explain. These hidden parts are what we call the shadow, everything we refuse to acknowledge, but which still governs our lives from beneath the surface. Love, in its deepest form, does not allow us to hide from the shadow. It drags it into the light. When we love, we become vulnerable, and vulnerability opens the door for the shadow to emerge. Suddenly, old wounds awaken. We feel possessive, jealous, afraid of loss. We become defensive, needy, uncertain. These are not signs of failure, they are signs of exposure. Love has touched something buried, something that must be seen before we can truly give or receive it. It takes great courage to face this inner confrontation. Many turn away at this stage, believing love has turned against them. But love is not betraying us, it is refining us, it is showing us the walls within ourselves that keep love out. If we can look at our shadow and not run, if we can sit with the pain instead of projecting it onto the other, something extraordinary happens. Understanding. We begin to see the patterns, the fears, the inherited wounds that once ruled us in silence. And slowly we begin to reclaim them. To be known completely is not merely to share our stories, but to reveal our essence, the unedited truth of who we are. It is to say, this is where I shine, and this is where I stumble. Can you still see me? But such honesty cannot come until we have made peace with our own shadow. If we cannot accept our darkness, we will hide it from others, and what we hide, we cannot offer to love. Only when we have turned toward the shadow with compassion, can we invite another to see us fully. And when that moment arrives, when we are no longer performing, no longer pleading to be loved, but simply being, love takes on a different quality. It no longer feels fragile or conditional. It becomes a mirror of wholeness. To be loved deeply is to be seen without disguise and still be held with tenderness. It is to discover that what we once feared would make us unlovable is, in fact, what makes us human. Love does not ask for perfection, it asks for presence. It asks that we bring the entirety of who we are, light and shadow, into its circle. For only the self that has faced its darkness can love without fear, and only the love that sees both can truly endure. And so, to be loved deeply is not to be adored for our best parts, but to be embraced for our entirety, the truth, the wounds, and the light that rises from them. The heart's greatest longing is not for possession, but for wholeness. We chase love as if it were a treasure to own, a person, a promise, a forever. We cling, we grasp, we make vows of mine and yours, believing that in possession lies security. Yet, the more tightly we hold, the more love slips through our fingers. For love was never meant to be captured, it was meant to awaken. The true hunger of the heart is not to possess another, but to remember its own completeness, to become whole in the presence of another who mirrors that truth. Most people confuse attachment with love. Attachment says, I need you so I can feel safe. Love says, I see you, and in seeing you, I remember myself. Attachment binds, love frees. Attachment feeds on fear, the fear of loss, of loneliness, of not being enough. Love, however, is born from inner abundance. It is the overflowing of a heart that no longer seeks to fill its emptiness with someone else. When we approach love through possession, it soon becomes a battlefield. We demand, we expect, we measure affection as proof of worth. We want the other to behave as our fantasy dictates. And when they don't, we suffer, not because love has failed, but because our illusion of control has shattered. We forget that love is not ownership. It is participation in something sacred and alive. It moves, changes, grows. It cannot be confined to our conditions. True love thrives only between two whole beings. It does not arise from need, but from choice. When we are inwardly divided, we turn the other into a remedy for our pain. We want them to complete us, to silence our inner chaos. But no one can heal the wound we refuse to face. As long as we seek another to make us whole, love will remain unstable, a cycle of craving and disappointment. Wholeness, however, changes everything. When you begin to find peace within yourself, when you no longer run from solitude, when you no longer mistake loneliness for emptiness, you discover a quiet strength. You realize you are already complete, That love is not something you acquire, but something you share. From that fullness, love becomes generous rather than demanding. You no longer love to be loved in return. You love because it is your nature to do so. This kind of love is calm yet powerful. It gives without losing itself. It honors the individuality of the other without fear of separation. It says, I choose you not to escape my loneliness, but to walk beside you as two free souls. And in that freedom, intimacy deepens. Paradoxically, when we stop trying to possess, love becomes unbreakable, not because it is bound, but because it is chosen again and again. That wholeness does not mean perfection, it means integration. It is the ability to hold both joy and pain, presence and absence, without being undone. When we reach this inner balance, love ceases to be a transaction and becomes a state of being. It is no longer a desperate search, but a gentle radiance that flows outward, toward life, toward others, toward everything that reflects the beauty of existence. The heart was never meant to conquer or be conquered. Its true desire is not to claim, but to connect, to find in another not possession, but resonance. And when two hearts meet in that wholeness, love becomes what it was always meant to be, a dance, not a chain, a freedom, not a cage. Not only when two souls stand unmasked does love reveal its divine nature. We spend our lives perfecting our disguises. We learn early how to smile when our heart aches, how to appear strong when we are frightened, how to hide the parts of us that we fear will not be accepted. Every relationship, every connection becomes a quiet performance, a dance of masks. We call it love, but what we often share is only the surface of ourselves, a reflection shaped to please or protect. Yet love, in its truest form, cannot exist in disguise. It begins only when two souls dare to stand before each other with nothing left to hide. This unveiling is the most terrifying act of all. To remove the mask is to risk rejection, to let another see what even we have avoided within ourselves. It means exposing the cracks, the contradictions, the moments of doubt, and the old wounds we hoped time had buried. But this is where love becomes real, not in perfection, but in the courage to be fully known. For when we drop the mask, we do not lose beauty, we uncover it. The soul shines most brightly when it no longer hides behind its fear. The meeting of two unmasked souls is not gentle at first. It is raw, disorienting, even painful. Without the familiar roles, the rescuer, the pleaser, the flawless lover, we are left with only our truth. And that truth is often vulnerable, but it is from this place of shared vulnerability that something sacred begins to grow. Love becomes not a projection, not an escape, but a communion, two beings recognizing themselves in the other, each reflecting back the authenticity they have fought so long to suppress. When both have removed the armor, love no longer seeks to impress or to win. It no longer measures worth or fears loss. It becomes a space of complete seeing, where the soul says to the soul, I know you. And that knowing is liberation. For what greater freedom exists than to be seen fully and still be chosen? What deeper peace than to no longer pretend? Most people fear such depth. They think they must remain half hidden to be safe. But safety bought at the price of authenticity is a quiet prison. The mask may protect the ego, but it starves the soul. The heart longs not for perfection, but for truth, the kind of truth that can stand naked and still belong. And when two people find that courage together, love transcends the personal. It becomes almost divine. It becomes a mirror through which each soul glimpses something eternal, the unchanging essence that lies beyond fear, beyond desire, beyond time. Such love does not depend on circumstances. It cannot be diminished by distance or silence, because it is rooted in recognition, not possession. It exists wherever truth exists. When two unmasked souls meet, their connection carries a quiet radiance, a depth that needs no words, a peace that does not cling. It is love stripped of illusion, love that has walked through the fire of self-revelation and emerged pure. This is the love every human heart is searching for, though few ever find it, not because it is rare, but because it requires everything. It demands that we lay down our defenses, that we risk being seen and risk truly seeing another. But for those who are willing, love reveals its true face, vast, luminous, and free thought, and when that moment comes, when two souls stand bare and recognize one another, there is no need for promises or proof. The heart simply knows it has found what it was always seeking, itself reflected in another dot. So, in the end, love is not a story of finding another, it is the story of finding yourself through another. Every moment of heartbreak, every confrontation with truth, every shattering of illusion is not the end of love, but its purification. For love, in its highest form, does not come to comfort you, it comes to awaken you. It comes to make you whole. When you dare to face yourself, when you refuse to hide behind fear or fantasy, you become the very thing you once sought. You no longer chase love, you become it. And that kind of love, fearless, conscious, alive, changes everything it touches. So do not fear the test before true love. Walk through it. Let the illusions fall. Let your shadow speak. Let your truth rise. For on the other side of that storm, you will not only find the one who was meant for you, you will find the self you were always meant to be. And when that happens, love will no longer be a question. It will be your answer to life itself. Good luck on your journey, and thank you